Welcome back, coin collectors, to another exciting episode of Coin Discovery Old Zone. Today video this coin 1985 South African 20 cents coin. It's not just any coin. This coin is valued at an astounding $1 million, but why is it worth so much? And what makes it so special? Stick around, because we're about to uncover its secrets. Grab your magnifying glass and let's get started. First, let's set the stage. The 20 cents coin was originally introduced in South Africa in 1961, and it has undergone several changes throughout its history. But the 1985 version stands out for several important reasons. Not only is it an essential piece of South Africa's numismatic history, but it also has a unique story that makes it highly coveted by collectors worldwide. This coin features the classic South African emblem on one side, showcasing the coined African springbok, a national symbol of South Africa. On the reverse side, you can see the denomination of 20 cents, accompanied by the date, 1985. The design reflects South Africa's rich cultural heritage and its intricate coinage history. But what truly makes this 1985 version so extraordinary? Well, there's one critical aspect that sets it apart from all others. You may be wondering, what's so special about the 1985 South African 20 cents coin that could make it worth $7 million? To put it simply, scarcity. This particular coin is one of the rarest in the world due to a major mintage error that occurred during its production. Here's where the story gets interesting. The error is often referred to as the 1985 Springbok minting mistake. Due to a production flaw, a limited number of 1,985 coins were minted with a unique flaw that is visible only when you examine the coin under close scrutiny. Notice how, on this specific coin, the Springbok animal's design is slightly off-center, with a peculiar misalignment of the details. This error makes the coin incredibly rare and increases its value exponentially. Because only a small batch of these coins were made, and many were either lost or destroyed, this coin is considered a holy grail for numismatists. The value of these coins skyrocketed in the 2000s when collectors began to recognize the mistake, and some have fetched up to $7 million at auction. Okay, now that we know why this coin is so valuable, let's talk about how you can identify it. Here are the key features to look out for when determining if you have one of these rare $7 million coins. First, examine the Springbok stance. On the error coins, the animal's position is slightly off, giving it a distorted or slightly tilted look compared to standard issues. Also, check for any misalignment in the minting process. This could be in the date or denomination. The most crucial part is the off-center design of the Springbok. You won't see it on every coin, but if you look closely, it's like a fingerprint for these rare coins. It's important to have a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe, as these flaws are very small and not always visible to the naked eye. But when you spot them, it can feel like finding a hidden treasure. Now, let's take a quick dive into the history of South African coinage, so you can appreciate just how remarkable this 1985 coin is within the broader context of the country's monetary system. South Africa's coinage began in 1961, when it became a republic and moved away from British currency. The introduction of the Springbok design for the 20-cent coin was a part of this transition. Over the years, South Africa has produced several designs for coins, reflecting both the nation's economic changes and the artistic evolution of its minting process. The 1985 coin marked a period of political change in South Africa, with the country transitioning into the 1980s amidst global scrutiny. The Springbok design, though symbolic of national pride, also became emblematic of an era of major social and economic shifts. Let's talk about some of the auction records. The rare 1985 20 cents coin has sold at auction for millions, but the most expensive one was sold at Sotheby's in 2015, where it fetched an incredible $7 million. This price is absolutely unparalleled for a coin of this denomination. The auction houses that deal in high-end numismatics, such as Sotheby's and Christie's, have seen many of these rare coins pass through their doors. The intense bidding wars among collectors from around the world only add to the allure of these coins. One thing is for sure, the 1985 South African 20 cents coin is truly a treasure, not only because of its rarity but because it's tied to South Africa's history, which makes it a unique collector's piece. Before we wrap up, Let's talk about how to determine the value of your own coins if you think you might have one of these rare 1985 Springbok coins in your collection. First, have your coin professionally appraised *** by a numismatist or a trusted coin dealer. They'll look for the distinctive flaws we talked about earlier and determine its condition. A coin's grade can significantly impact its price. The better the condition, the higher the value. So, there you have it. The mystery and allure behind the 1985 South African 20-cent coin that could be worth $7 million piece of currency. Coin 1985 South African 50-cent coin. A coin that's not only filled with historical significance, but also an unbelievable value, potentially reaching up to $1 million ***. Yes, you heard that right. Stay tuned as we explore everything you need to know about this remarkable piece of history. Let's dive in. Before we talk about its mind-blowing value, let's break down the basics of this coin. The 1985 South African 50-cent coin was part of the series that was introduced in 1961, and it was minted as part of the coinage of South Africa during the time of the apartheid regime. Now, the design on this coin is really quite special. The 50-cent coin features the iconic Springbok, a symbol of South Africa's wildlife, on its reverse side. This animal is a national symbol of the country and has been featured on various coins and currency for decades. On the obverse side, we have the portrait of Jan van Riebeeck, the Dutch colonial administrator who is widely regarded as the founder of Cape Colony, which is now modern-day South Africa. He is depicted in traditional attire of the 17th century. Now, this coin was produced in a standard cupronickel alloy, which makes it durable and resistant to corrosion. It weighs about 13.3 grams with a diameter of 30 millimeters. So this is quite a hefty coin in your hands, giving it a real sense of value. But why is this coin worth so much today? Let's get into the history behind its incredible worth. In 1985, South Africa was facing significant political and social unrest, largely due to the apartheid system that was still in full effect. The country was also under heavy international sanctions, with many nations imposing trade embargoes and boycotts. During this time, the country's mint continued to produce currency, but certain coins were produced in limited quantities as part of special collections, making them far rarer than others. And that's where our coin enters the story. The 1985 South African 50-cent coin was actually produced in such a limited quantity that it quickly became a highly sought-after collector's item. The standard mintage was much smaller than anticipated, and some believe that many of these coins were melted down due to low demand at the time. However, a handful of them survived, and it wasn't until much later that their true value is recognized. Let's talk about rarity. The value of a coin is often determined by how many of them still exist in good condition. The 1985 South Africa 50-cent coin was initially not regarded as a major collector's item, and only recently, collectors started to realize how rare the coin was due to its limited production and the circumstances surrounding its release. However, a few years ago, a few pristine examples of this coin were discovered in various private collections. Some of these coins were graded at MS 67 or higher, which means they're in mint state with no noticeable wear or marks. This is where the true value comes in. Coins that are in perfect condition, with minimal wear, tend to fetch astronomical prices at auctions. So, why is this coin worth $8 million? Well, the story goes that in a high-profile auction, one of these 1985 South African 50-cent coins was sold for a jaw-dropping $8 million. This particular coin had been kept in a private collection for decades and was carefully preserved, maintaining its immaculate condition. It's important to note that this price is for the finest example of the 1985 50-cent coin. Not every 1985 50 cents is worth that much. Most will fall into a more modest range depending on their condition. Coins in average condition are typically valued around $500 to $1,000, but when you find one in pristine, uncirculated condition, the price tag skyrockets. Let's dive a bit deeper into what makes a coin like this worth so much money. There are several factors that influence a coin's value. First, we have rarity. As we discussed, the 1985 South African 50 cents was minted in smaller quantities, which immediately makes it rarer than many other coins. Next is condition. A coin's condition is graded using a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being perfect. The better the condition, the higher the value. Thirdly, demand plays a huge role. As collectors become more aware of the rarity of these coins, the demand increases, which further drives up the price. And lastly, the historical significance of this coin makes it even more appealing. With South Africa's history being so unique and tumultuous, collectors want a piece of that history in their hands. So, how can you spot this valuable coin in your collection, or even in your pocket change? Let's go over the key identification features to help you know exactly what to look for. First, look at the year 1985 stamped on the coin. Next, check for the distinctive springbok on the reverse side. If you're able to get a magnifying glass, check the fine details. Any imperfections could lower the value. Also, ensure that the coin weighs 13.3 grams and has a diameter of 30 mm. If you're interested in starting your own coin collection or even making an investment in rare coins, there are a few tips to keep in mind. First, make sure to buy from trusted dealers or auction houses. Second, always store your coins in protective cases to prevent any damage. And third, keep an eye on the market. Prices for rare coins can fluctuate over time. That wraps up today's deep dive into the 1985 South African 50-cent coin. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a newcomer to the world of numismatics, this coin is a fascinating example of how history piece of currency. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, share and subscribe. Coin Discovery Old Zone. See you next video.